The rule I made for myself is you're not allowed to quit when things are down. You're only allowed to quit when you're on top. Hi, welcome to today's video. In today's video, we're going to be talking about how do you know when it's time to quit something. So in our last video, we talked about how to know whether or not you should jump into something that scares you, if you should start something new. And after that, I got a bunch of questions about, well, I understand that I got to be cautious when figuring out if it's something I want to jump into that's new, and I've got to determine what my reasoning is for it. At the same time, how do I know when it's time to quit something? And I think now more than ever, in today's day and age, it's critical that we think about what's the difference between quitting something and making a conscious decision to walk away from something. Because in my eyes, there really is a difference. And one of the things that it takes me back to thinking about is what the stigma is around quitting. In the 1950s and in the 1960s, there was a true stigma around walking away from anything, whether it's a divorce, ending a relationship, quitting a job, and it was almost shameful for someone to give up on something, even if it was something that was bad for them. And I think over the course of the last 15 or 20 years, we've gone almost an extreme in the other direction, where there's shame placed upon people for staying with something that isn't perfect all the time. And so what I want to talk about today is how do you know where the middle ground is? And I think a big piece of the middle ground has to be based on what it is that you really want. Because more and more I see people posting online and social media, Instagram, and I see all these quotes up about if something doesn't make you happy all the time, you have to walk away from it. And to me, that's total horseshit. I think the concept that anything will be happy all the time or will be great all the time is a complete fallacy. There's no way that anything is great or perfect all the time. I don't care how great someone's marriage is. There's going to be times that are better. There's going to be times that are worse. I've been married for over 15 years, and we've had ups and downs in our relationship. It's been an amazing 15 years. We've been together 20, and I can't imagine my life without Laura in it. At the same time, I'm not going to sit here and tell you guys that every minute of every day is newlywed bliss. We've got kids. We've got life. Things come up. Things come down. We have things that are challenges for us. And what I see more and more is people are walking away from things that could be absolutely amazing for them because they're just not willing to put in the work or challenge themselves to do something that's outside their comfort zone. When I was first building my business 17 years ago, I had a lot of ups and downs. And there was one particular time that really caught my attention, and during that time I established my own rule for when I know it's okay to quit. And that's the biggest thing I want to share with you guys today, is knowing when to quit. So I was having a really rough time. I was having some down times with the people on my team. I was farther away from my goals than I thought I wanted to be. And to a degree, I felt like I deserved to be further along. And at the same time, I was beating myself up for not doing a better job. And I was really starting to question, okay, am I really built for this? Am I really built to be a leader to people? Am I really built to be a trainer to people? Can I really be the kind of person that people count on? And the same time I was having all these doubts, I was offered a pretty lucrative position with a company that was a little more of a stable, more socially acceptable kind of business where it would be a salaried position plus bonuses. It would be a very clear-cut career path, and there would probably be a little bit less volatility to it. And I truly took a step back and thought about taking that position. And it hit me a couple of days later when I was really trying to make up my mind that up until this point in my life, I think I was a better salesperson than I thought I was, because I had convinced myself and everything else ever, as soon as things got hard, that I didn't want to do it anymore. When music became incredibly challenging, I convinced myself that it probably wasn't for me and I probably wasn't going to make a living at it. When, in fact, if I had worked harder, I probably could have. I even had quit and walked away from things that, with teaching, with restaurant jobs. I even quit and walked away from Boy Scouts when they asked me to do some stuff I didn't want to do. And it occurred to me that if I was tired of starting over, I probably should stop quitting. And so I took a step back and I established a new rule for myself. And the rule I made for myself is you're not allowed to quit when things are down. You're only allowed to quit when you're on top. If you're quitting when things are going well, it's an educated and conscious decision to walk away. If you're quitting when things are down, you're just a quitter. And I didn't want to be a quitter anymore. So I took a step back, I declined the opportunity with the other company, and I said, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to work as hard as I can until I hit the promotion that I set out as a goal for myself, which was having an opportunity to move into a position where I was running my own business. And if I decided once I hit all of those qualifications, once I won, if I decided I didn't want to do this anymore, then I could make an educated decision that it wasn't for me. But I wasn't allowed to quit until that point in time. To me, the only way to really distinguish failure is not that you don't hit your goals, it's that you give up on them. So I got to this point where I was promoted, and magically, I didn't want to quit anymore. And I've really applied this throughout us building the DMC Atlanta business and throughout us helping open new offices all over the country, is my rule for myself was I'm only allowed to walk away from something if I'm on top. I had times where I was at the bottom of the rankings on whatever campaign I was working, and I thought about giving up, and I said, nope, these are the rules I have. I'm only allowed to quit if we're number one. And every time you get back to number one, you don't want to walk away. So one of the things that you have to determine for yourself, if you're trying to make the decision, is this for me, is this not for me? Am I going to dig in harder to what I'm doing, or am I going to walk away from it? You got to ask yourself, are you making a decision based on an emotion that's centered around you not being where you want to be? Or are you making an educated decision because you've experienced success and decided that that success wasn't worth the work? Second thing you've got to do is you've got to ask yourself, have I given it my all? I think a lot of times what people do is they subconsciously don't do their best at things, because that way if they don't hit their goals, if they don't win, if they don't succeed, they can walk around and tell all their friends and family, well, you know, it wasn't really that important to me anyway, I didn't try that hard at it. I think there's a true subconscious fear of digging in 100% to something, doing your absolute best on it, and still not hitting your goals in whatever arbitrary time frame you set for yourself. And a lot of people, I think, fear that they can't handle giving something 100% and then still not having what they want. And if that's the situation, my recommendation is to take a step back and recognize, what do you really value? Because if you really want to do something, the only way you're ever going to be able to do it is if you give 100%. And if you take a step back and you look in the mirror and say, you know what? I'm trying to shield myself, I'm not giving myself 100%, I'm not doing the very best that I can, then you got to decide if it's really something you want in the first place. And if it is, you've got to commit to 100% effort until you reach the goal. Because only once you reach the goal, only once you see success, can you make a true decision in your heart and in your head whether or not something's for you. So that's my couple of minutes on whether or not you know it's time to walk away from something. If you have questions, please send me a message. I'd love to do follow-up videos to address this, and I always love comments and feedback. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great day.